events, activities, publications, and now for last few months also through varied range of webinars. Thus, in a view of given situation and also as a part of Institute's endeavor for multi-sectoral participants, Institute has outlined today's webinar, which is COVID crisis and revival of tourism in West Bengal, an idea to flash and discuss various issues and challenges faced by tourism sector in West Bengal along with sustainability issues of people associated with this sector post-COVID outbreak, widely over deliberation by our moderator and also eminent speakers. Thus, we have with us Sri Raj Basu, who is a moderator for today's webinar. He's a tourism advisor and a renowned conservationist. We have among speakers, we have Sri Biswajit Saha from Jaldapara Jungle Camp Tours, Sri Shayok Nundi, Tourist Information Officer, India Tourism, Kolkata Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. We have Srimati Akanksha Garg, Sundarban Tiger Camp, and Sri Norbu Lama from Togda Heritage Society, Darjeeling, and of course Professor Mohan Mukhopadhyay, Vishwa Bharati University, Shantiniketan. We all welcome you. Before we proceed, I have some gentle requests to make. The participants who are interested to seek e-participation certificates do write to us post-webinar or
good evening all. No
drop in
sound
your
is coming.
details to the text box.
Is anybody speaking that side?
Yes. And secondly, post-deliberation by all our eminent speakers, we are likely to have an interactive session. For your questions to be answered, do write your questions, mention the name of the speaker you want to address, and send us through text box. Now I would request Raj Basu to please take it forward. Thank you. Raj sir, please unmute yourself. Please unmute your microphone. Shri Raj Basu, please unmute your microphone.
Yeah, Kankana ji, done. Thank you very much, Kankana ji, for your wonderful introduction to today's session. In fact, it's a completely new thing, I know, for ISCS, who have been wonderfully working for the past few years on number of issues, starting from our national issues to international issues, academic sessions, relations between countries. This certainly comes as a boon to all of us, because our institute of the status of ISCS, who is organizing the tourism webinar, wherein they are focusing on the home state of West Bengal, which we are very grateful that you have considered and you agreed to do so, and also putting in all the efforts to bring in the wonderful speakers from the different regions of Bengal, because that is one of the major things. Because usually what happens, we do not get to see on every topic, people from the different locations when you talk about a geographical area. So this is wonderful that from across Bengal you have brought in people. We have a representation from India Tourism, our Sayak Nandiji, who is already here, and he would be talking to us on the different aspects of India Tourism initiatives. Also, we have over here, when we start from the mountains, we have Norbu Lamaji, who is there with us all the way from Tagda in Darjeeling. You can see the backdrop with the beautiful mountains and the clear weather that you can see over there, which will always be attracted. Then from the foothills, from the Himalayan foothill areas, from Jaldapara, we have the most, I think, the celebrated protected area of the state, that is Jaldapara National Park. We have Biswajit Sahaji, who is all the way from sitting in his Jaldapara jungle camp, and he would be talking to us. We have from Shantiniketan, because when we talk about Shantiniketan, it is directly when we think about Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, and there from his own university we have Professor Molay Mukhopadhyay Molaida, who has been world renowned for his work in geography, and the last but not the least, the lady among the speaker group, but she is more than any of us, and she represents the wonderful forest and the largest estuarine forest of the world, and Akanksha Gargji, who is there with us, she would represent the tiger camp, the Sundarbans tiger camp, which is there. So these are the people who have been in the field for years together and would be sharing this knowledge. Over here, I would just like to put into context, the role of West Bengal, into the entire tourism scenario. If you see very closely, you will see that the people of West Bengal have always been traveling for generations unknown. We never know when people of West Bengal started traveling. Though the geography of Bengal has been changing from time to time, but we have a long history of travel, be it for reasons of trade, be it for reasons of poetry, be it for reasons of any kind of connectivity, religious purposes. We have found people who have traveled from Bengal for years together. And on today's date, each and every house in Bengal, maybe whatever language they speak, be it Bengali, Hindi, Nepali, or any other language, even Chinese, Jew, whatever language they may speak, you will find that each and every person in every house of Bengal is a traveler, because that is what probably Bengal had been made for. It's a state of travelers, where everybody, because they would sacrifice a part of their food, they would sacrifice on the luxury of their accommodation, they would sacrifice on buying new clothes and other things, but they wouldn't sacrifice on travel. They would like to travel across across the country and across the world. And fortunately, if you look into the flow, you will see that the maximum number of travelers from West Bengal has been traveling within the country, which is wonderful. Because when I was talking to friends who run very luxurious camp you must have seen during different events when luxurious camps and tents are put up, they always say that more than foreigners, we have people from Bengal who come and book with us. So from basic budget travelers to luxurious travelers, we have everything from Bengal. So Bengal has been a state of travelers. So it is here, we have to rethink how travel is going to be now, because we have divided, basically travel has been divided into two portions, like, BC and AC. BC means before Corona, and AC could be after Corona. So we would talk a little about before Corona, before COVID-19, how the situation was, where we were, and maybe after Corona, or with the continuation of Corona, if we think we have to live with this COVID-19 situation, then how do we introduce travel? Because Bengal has to show the way to travel. This is the reason, I'm so very grateful to the Institute that they have thought about such a kind of tourism webinar over here with so many speakers. And we would hope that this would not be the only one, but if all the people who are in here with us today to view us, to listen to us, I think it is on your demand that if we can carry on to part 2 and part 3 with more eminent speakers on a later stage. So that should be our target. Before COVID-19, that is BC time, we should say that, we were, when in foreign arrivals and in domestic movements coming into the state, we were number 6 in the country. When we talk about tourists going out from the country, we are in the first 2 of the country, tourists going out to the different states of the country. Within the country, I would say Bengal would be number 1. And tourism as a whole, I wouldn't play with the statistics, because before COVID-19, we knew that to our country's GDP, it was 10% of the GDP was from tourism almost. And even the number of people who were engaged with tourism was more than 10% from across the country. So tourism has a very wide employment opportunities. When we look into the policy of the state of West Bengal, 2019 policy, there they have clearly mentioned that for every 1 million USD investment that is made in tourism, we create 78 jobs, and in the manufacturing sector we create only 18 jobs, and in agriculture we create 45 jobs. So primarily based on this, West Bengal had made the tourism policy. So this makes a lot of difference. The kind of people who can be meaningfully engaged into some kind of activity is tourism, and no one better than Bengal who understands this, because they begin as a tourist and then they become an entrepreneur. So this is the background of every tourism person, every lodge or resort or homestay owner within the state. If you go across and talk to them, you'll find that each and every one of them is first a traveler, is first a tourist, and then he or she is an entrepreneur or a business person into the tourism industry. With this background, I think during this COVID-19 situation, the government of West Bengal, the West Bengal Tourism, has already managed to open 10 of their tourist lodges phase-wise into different destinations across southern part of Bengal and northern part of Bengal, which I think was one of the very bold initiatives to show to the people, to show to the entire world that, Bengal can do that, because government had started that. And also, parallelly, the industry, I would say the industry activists who are there, they took a major role in opening up a lot of destinations. But before we come to that, all of you must have seen this small, little, very active office in Kolkata, which is known as India Tourism Kolkata, which looks after the entire eastern region, which for a very long time was unnoticed, but for the past 1 or 2 years have been very actively on the ground. But unfortunately, all the plans, that was with the India Tourism Office Kolkata, which was planned, a lot of plans had to be called off because of this situation. But they did not stop. They carried on, and we have an official like Mr. Sayak Nandi, who took all the initiative to keep the dialogue for tourism on, and he took a lot of initiatives in the process. A very young gentleman who belonged to the state itself, was in different positions in different parts of the country from time to time, but is back to Bengal again to look after the Kolkata office as the tourism information officer. So Mr. Sayak Nandi, we would like to touch upon you, and we would like to hear from you that how were the activities and what were planned before in the BC, before the COVID time, and what are you doing now as an activity presently? If we can hear you, please. Please, Saiki.
Thank you, Razda. Thank you, ISCS and Arindam Mukherjee, Secretary Sir, for inviting us, for allowing us to present ourselves, the India Tourism Kolkata, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, at this platform. First of all, we are going through a very tough time. I hope all of you who are with us at present, or those of you who are going to see it later on, you are safe. And secondly, for tourism industry, it's a very tough time, unusual era for all of us. But we have to stand strong and overcome the situations. First of all, the job of India Tourism Kolkata, the primary mandate of India Tourism Kolkata is to promote the destinations of Eastern India to the rest of the country and vice versa. So we are basically intermediary or organization, a bridge between stakeholders, between tourists or general public and the industry or destination in a manner. Earlier, pre-digital era, this office used to be one of the most favored spot for tourists, for the Bengali tourists, to be very precise, and foreigners who visit Calcutta. They used to collect information from our counters. Later on, when the digitalization took place and people started Googling and trying to find all informations in their in their mobile phones and through different portals, then probably the tourist interaction has reduced a bit, though India Tourism Kolkata and other India Tourism offices of Ministry of Tourism, Government of India has changed the way it used to market the destinations. So with that perspective, we had launched an event called Purvaiya 2019 to showcase the destinations of Eastern India, different destinations, through a proper B2B event where we had invited almost 90 DMCs, tour operators who handle inbound tourists and domestic tourists both, from Delhi, Mumbai, Gujarat, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, all across the country. And it was a quite fruitful event, and we had received a lot of queries. A lot of our stakeholders, hoteliers, tour operators, they got a lot of bookings and contracts were signed. Further, probably a few of you only know that the largest career placement drive for the hospitality management student had been organized by India Tourism Kolkata, the regional office, under the able leadership of Sri Shagnik Chaudhary, our regional director, last year. Probably that event, why I'm mentioning this point is that how critical that event was, that around 800 students from different hotel management institutes of Eastern India, eastern part of India, that is Bihar, Jharkhand, Bengal, Odisha and Andaman, they had participated, and almost 1200 students, freshers, they got selected and they got job offers from 33 leading hotel groups, tour operators and aggregators. However, we had planned to continue this kind of initiatives in 2020-21 financial year, but due to this COVID strike or this unfortunate COVID pandemic, we had to withdraw this kind of plans. So far, we are not being able to organize any public event because of the COVID protocol and stuff. However, there are certain things that I would like to mention. First of all, as Razda has already told, that Razda has already mentioned that Bengal is one of the most significant key market, tourist source market for the entire country and even at the global level. So Bengalis as a tourist, they need to get newer contents, fresh contents. Suppose you are putting up a camp somewhere at Madhya Pradesh. So probably the first and foremost target marketing area would be Bengal if you're targeting domestic tourists. So from that perspective, it's everyone's playground. All stakeholders, all tour operators, hoteliers, they have to come to Bengal to get business. And it's the other way around also, because Bengal has like the number of tourist footfall has increased significantly over the past 3-4 years, as you have already seen in newspapers and others, that in terms of inbound tourist arrival, Calcutta was number one in the month of November, December, which is pretty interesting. Even more than Delhi, more than Mumbai, the growth was significant, and there were official statements issued by West Bengal Tourism also. So we congratulate West Bengal Tourism and all of the stakeholders from West Bengal for that. But when we were growing as a state of Bengal, when it was growing, at that very moment, we had this setback as the other parts of the country and world. So further, I would like to mention certain initiatives which Ministry of Tourism, Government of India has taken so far to counter or to kind of deal with this pandemic. First of all, we have our Ministry of Tourism, Delhi headquarters have issued certain protocols for tour operators, for hoteliers, for homestays, and for transporters. For each segment, there is a specific protocol how to deal with your staff, how to deal with the tourist queries, what should be the payment process, everything. So it's a detailed guidelines. I would like to request all of the viewers to please go through the tourism.gov.in protocols and give your feedbacks and just share it with others, so that whenever somebody is traveling from one part to another, they must follow these guidelines closely to avoid any kind of issues. Further, I would like to mention that see, the possibilities of travel among this COVID situation has also changed. So Ministry of Tourism, Government of India has already consulted most of the states and union territories. We have requested them to prepare smaller itineraries. We have requested for newer creatives, fresh creatives, fresh contents, because suppose the destinations like Calcutta or the destination like Darjeeling, these are densely populated place. Yes, we need them to come into action. We need people to travel to Calcutta or to Darjeeling. But during this situation, at present, smaller itineraries with weekend kind of destinations are more preferred, will be preferred in the market. So we have requested all the state tourisms and union tourisms as well as all the industry associations to prepare certain itineraries and share with us, so that we can market them from Incredible India social media handle and our regional handles. Then I would come into the next point, that Ministry of Tourism, when we understand the situation that we are not in a state of conducting physical events. Probably we all know that the future of SATE in 2020, future of TTF are certainly are uncertain to a certain extent, that we don't know exactly when they are going to organize, whether it will be organized or not at all. So in the meantime, Ministry of Tourism and its regional offices have launched certain webinars specifically designed to cater this kind of weekend trails, specifically designed to cater the tourist mind, so that they get to see new destinations, new way of travels. And for that, Ministry of Tourism had organized almost 50 odd webinars on different destinations, which has been viewed by lakhs of people till now. Even India Tourism Kolkata, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, so far have organized almost 14 to 15 webinars of such kind, which are produced as live sessions at our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, which has already been viewed by almost 50,000 people all across the country. Even from abroad, people have seen these. Further, amongst this COVID situation, we have to utilize this time wisely. That's why Ministry of Tourism's promotional strategy of marketing different destinations has changed, as I have already mentioned. So I would request all of the stakeholders who are at present listening to this video, this session, to share their creatives, share smaller itineraries with our regional offices. Wherever you are based, just share it with the concerned regional office, so that we can prepare them and market them in the right way possible and reach maximum people. Whenever people start travel, people consider it's safe to start travel, they will be definitely looking for this kind of itineraries. That's why I request you all to share these contents with us. Further, many of you must have felt a need of certain skilled individuals at destinations like guides or facilitators. With that perspective in mind, Ministry of Tourism had launched Incredible India Tourist Facilitator course way back in February 2020. So at this point of time, this kind of online certification course, which will enable many of many of the tourism professionals to get an employment opportunity in near future, I would request all of you to register at Incredible India Tourist Facilitator course to increase the option of earning. It is even valid for people who are working for other organizations, who are working at corporates, at government, at MNCs. All of you can register at this course and increase some knowledge base maybe and some possibilities for earning through tourism in near future. Further, I would congratulate all the viewers that yes, we are having a wonderful session as organized by ISCS, where we would have a wonderful presentation or storytelling experience, where starting from Bengal Himalaya to Sundarban, we will cover the entire Bengal, and it will be a wonderful experience for all of us. So without taking further time, I would hand it over to Razda. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was wonderful hearing you and the schemes that India tourism has during this COVID-19 situation, because this was very important for all the people who have been listening to us. This has been a very important input that we all wanted actually, and there has been request in the group, in the chat, it should be more interactive and everything. Yes, for all the people, viewers and listeners who are here, for all of them, I would like to say, we will interact, we will have more of interaction, but we will also allow our speakers to speak, to present their case, so that you can understand from where they are speaking, their experience and everything. As you heard Sayak ji, he talked about Kolkata, the footfalls over here, the protocols over here. Now, protocols he just touched upon. In the process, we will talk in details about the protocols. We will talk about about the webinars that has been happening. We will talk about the guide and all the facilities. But we also have to talk about footfalls. How do we start the footfalls? But before we talk about the starting of footfalls, I would go to the higher places from where you can see the wonderful Kanchenjunga, the beautiful, the bungalow houses which are there, the forest, the pine forest on the mountain, which will take you to the cold over there, the cool weather over there. Even during the summer, when a lot of us are sweating in Kolkata and other places of Bengal, the very upper part, the very northern part of Bengal, where you touch the clouds, where you're in the clouds. So where you're in the clouds is a place known as Takta. And from there, we have a very wonderful person, such a sober and wonderful person, though he has been a public leader for a very long time. But, a man who is actually been tuned to be a part of tourism through his behavior, through his services, through his understanding. He comes from a wonderful family background, where his father was a spiritual leader from the region, who connected across Himalaya, the communities across Himalaya, through his spiritual journeys that he covered. And we believe that Naubuji Lama also got a lot from them, a lot from his father, and through this kind of continuity of heritage, not only in buildings, in landscape, but also in behavior, in service to the people, and in understanding the people in the mountain. He has a very big role over there. So now we will listen to the experience of Mr. Naubuji Lama. Naubuji, namaskar, and thank you for coming in all the way from Takda, from the heritage in the clouds. Please.
Namaskar, Razda. Namaskar from Darjeeling Hills. It is really honored and a great privilege for me to be a part of, be one of the speaker of today's topic. I would first of all like to thank Razda, and I would also like to thank ISCS, who has organized this webinar. Well, I'm not a very good speaker, and I'm scared that whether this internet would work. Let's cross a finger that this internet is going to work. So I'll try in my own humble way. I would like to share my ideas, and I'm sure I may be of some help to revive tourism after this pandemic crisis. I live in a very small place called Takda Cantonment, which is about an hour drive from Darjeeling. We are a very centrally located place. We are covered by the international borders as well. We are very close to Nepal. We are very close to Bhutan. We are very close to Sikkim, as you see. And before I actually talk about Tagda, I would specifically want to mention a very special place called Tinchule, which is the first ecotourism. A concept of homestay has been started in Tinchule, and I would thank Mr. Raj Basu for taking such a noble initiative to introduce a homestay, in entire nation, and which I would proudly say that Tinchule is a government-approved ecotourism center, destination. Yes, so well. I just want to mention a little bit about heritage in Tagda. Before India gained independence, Tagda has been a British Army cantonment surrounded by such a wonderful forest. You can see at the back, and the tea gardens, which was established in the year 1911. So, there were British officers' bungalows, there were Gorkha officers' bungalows, there were single-man barracks, there were married couple barracks, there were medicine, medicine laboratories, the schools, So now these bungalows, these more than 109 years old bungalows, I'm very, very sorry, and I'm very sad to say they are in such a dilapidated conditions. They are in a very bad shape, but most of the bungalows as of now has been owned by the local people here, and most of the bungalows is converted into schools, the government office, quarters, the monasteries, the hospitals, post office, and the British clubs. I've been hearing a lot of stories from my grandparents, from my father, and from the elderly people about Tagda. And I would like to share one very important story here, as Razda has been all the time insisting to tell something about your place. So, I'm sure this will give a very good message to everyone who are here and who are watching this. Well, Tagda was known as a second battalion home of Gorkha Army and the British Army, you see. And on 22nd of October 1914, the army has marched from here, from Tagda, to Gallipoli and Egypt for the First World War. So this is something interesting, you see. So Tagda was, normally it's a very isolated place. Nobody knew about Tagda. But once we started with this homestay, the rural tourism, and we started this heritage tourism, Tagda has really come into a limelight. And I would once again like to thank Razda of taking such a noble initiative promoting the heritage tourism in Tagda. And he's always been supportive, and he's always been kind enough to give me all the suggestions and the feedback where we could at least bring Tagda into a global map in terms of tourism. Why? Because after we started this homestay, the heritage tourism, we've been getting a lot of inquiries from, not only from the people living in West Bengal or elsewhere in India, but we've been getting lots of inquiries, especially from Europe, you see, because Tagda and Europe is connected. After this homestay concept, this homestay concept has brought a new business opportunity for the villagers. The villagers have become, first of all, self-dependent after tourism industry has industries initiated. So earlier I could see a lot of changes. I could see a lot of changes in the attitude of the village people. Because normally people in the village are very simple-minded. They are shy in nature, very passive, introvert. And yes, of course, some of them are very, very conservative also. But now after the initiative of the homestay concept, the rural tourism, they have becoming very open-minded. They have become such a welcoming, you see, and the best thing is they have become self-confident, and they are very, very tourist-friendly people. Yeah. Okay. And rural tourism had played a very significant role in terms of villages' economy, in terms of financially, you see. So rural tourism in one way is become a sustainable tourism. So, I was just telling you that, there were a lot of inquiries coming from the Europe. I'd just like to share a small story with every one of you here. There's a lady called Marianne who lives in England, UK, had written me once, and she was supposed to come and visit this year in the month of May. She told me, and she's written me specifically, that her grandparents lived here in Tagda. Her grandmothers were born in Tagda in the late 19th century. So she told me that she's got a lot of photos and she's got a lot of diaries and journals just to show me. I mean, she was so excited to come and visit us, but unfortunately, with this COVID crisis, she could not make it. And, the other story I can share you is, normally everyone knows Darjeeling is famous for tea. And this Australian gentleman who had written me an email saying that my wife was born in Tagda, and we wanted to come and visit your place. And I told him, how did you get my email? So he told me that one of the volunteer teacher from Australia who was working in his school had given me your email address so I could connect you. So this gentleman's wife was born here, and a Scottish gentleman who had come to Tagda Tea Gardens in the year 1900 for the plantation. So he was in love with one of the local beautiful lady, a Lepcha lady, and he got married, and they have lovely kids, but very, very, very sad. He passed away very soon, and her daughter, she was sent to Dr. Graham's homes in Kalimpong, and then it was the orphanage school then. So these are the stories. So she came with a mother who could still speak very fluent Nepali and as well as English. She stayed with me, and in fact they wanted to buy a land over here, you see. So I tried my best to serve them, but I'm sure in future they would definitely come and visit us again. So these are the stories, you see. And after that, I've been getting a lot of volunteer teachers in my school from England, from US, from Scotland, and from Australia. And they come here not only to teach the students of the village over here, the underprivileged children over here, but they also come to learn a lot of things about hills, a lot of things about nature. You see, our tradition, our culture, our languages, our religion, So, so this was such a wonderful time when all these used to happen. But unfortunately, like you said, AC and BC, so before COVID was such a lovely time. And Tagda was growing and everyone was knowing Tagda. But after COVID, we really had a tough time. It is very, very unfortunate. But I would say that nothing is permanent. So I'm sure good days will come again.
Yes. And Nabuji, how do you plan to do the open? Means what kind of things you would like to offer to people who would be coming now to you in this period of post COVID or the COVID continuity situation?
Oh well, I was thinking of starting and reviving the tourism in the hills, especially in the North Bengal, with the concept of healing tourism. You see, people back in Calcutta, people back in cities, are really stressed. They are in the four walls, and I'm sure they're really depressed. The children must be very depressed because they're not getting an opportunity to go out. They're not getting an opportunity to go to schools and meet their friends. I'm sure the parents must be stressed out. So in that case, we wanted to revive by welcoming them to Pahar, to Darjeeling Hills, to Kalimpong Hills, by saying a healing tourism. You see, they can come here. They can have a quality time. They can just come and relax over here with the family. A stress buster. See, you can just see my backdrop over here, and they can go for a nature walk. They can enter the forest. They can go for a bird watching. They can do yoga. They can also do meditation, so they can have the organic food, and they can experience the dishes you never see in the menu in the entire world. I mean, we will serve you that kind of organic food, you see. So, such an open space to the children, and the best thing is, we have now, you can see, like the technology was very poor, the internet was very poor here. Now you could see that a lot of things are improving, so if they come here, and they can in fact start a concept of work from home, so I would rather say it's not work from home. So I would rather say, as I'm sitting over here in my lawn, so you can walk from nature. So that would be the option to the tourists to restart tourism, to revive tourism, you see. And we have come up with the idea of having a packages. It's not going to be like the previous, tourist tour, like coming for 1 night, 2 nights, and hopping to places. So we wanted the tourists to come here and at least stay for minimum for 7 days or for 14 days. Or more than 14, say about a month. We would be very, very happy. I'm sure that would be lovely to restart the tourism once again. And without taking much time,
certainly, Nabuji, yes.
Without taking much time, I would once again like to thank you, Razda, and thank you everyone over there. It's really a privilege to be with such an eminent personality here, and hope to hear from them as well, their suggestions, their feedback. Thank you for now.
Thank you, Nabuji. Yes, thank you, Nabuji. Yes, as you heard, all of you who are listening to this panel today, I would say, this is a wonderful concept that has been given by Nabuji Lama. All of us are working on this concept over here in this region. It is about the healing villages that we are working on, and here, you can come and spend your time with the villagers. You can share your time. Means the villagers are ready to share their time and activities with you. All you have to come and get engaged, to work on the soil, to do some kind of agriculture, to walk into the forest and get your probably fuel wood to cook. You can come back and, you can get your salad and your mushroom and everything from the forest and come and cook it over here into the homestay. So this homestay become your home. And as you just heard, that you can stay here as long as you want, all the way from 7 days to a year or two. This can be another home for working from, because if you have internet connectivity and everything, this will be for another. For the elderly people who are there, for them, this is an opportunity to retire, because here the villagers will give you more time. Here the villagers will look after you. Here you will heal yourself automatically with the nature. So these are some opportunities, that you will get while you are here in this part of north of West Bengal, mainly in the mountains in the forest. So as we talk about the mountains in the forest, we have very popular wildlife sanctuaries, national park, protected areas, but we know them as protected areas like wildlife sanctuaries and national parks now only. But this foothills of the Bhutan Himalaya have always been there. They have been very popularly known as the Duars region. Why Duars region? As you just heard Nabuji speaking, Tagda, which was once the last camp of British India. because after that, across Tista, they would look into Bhutan, because the entire region belonged to Bhutan. So after the 1865 war, when this part of Bhutan was taken into British India, this whole region, which was a transit between the plains and the mountains, which was the major gateway and the trade route to Tibet, which entered Tibet between the sea route and the mountain route, the Silk Route. This was a major transition zone, and this 18 duas, all the way from the Tista River up to the Dhansiri River, which is close to Manas in Assam, where was actually these 18 duas made this region known as Duas. And this wonderful foothills of the Bhutan Himalayas, which is part of West Bengal. We have a very active representative from there, Mr. Bishwajit Saha, who has been working with the communities over there. He has seen that how from timber, tourism took up, and timber was, illegal timber felling, poaching was rampant. From there, how tourism has come into, into survival and rescuing of this protected area. So this entire journey, I would request Bishwajit ji to please speak about his journey, about the work, and also his work on how he attempted revival in Duas, which is now doing very well from tourism point of view, because this is one of the first parts of West Bengal that has opened up for tourists. And on today's date also, we have tourists who are going around in Duas. So Bishwajit ji, can we hear you, please? Is Bishwajit ji there? Hello.
Please unmute yourself.
Bishwajit ji, you have to unmute yourself, please.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue. Yes. Thank you.
First of all, very good evening, viewers, and thanks to ISCS, and thanks to Arindam Da, Hirok Da, Razda, and Kankana.
Yes.
Duars, Razda already mentioned. First of all, I want to tell about the history behind the name of Duars. There is 18 door in between India to Bhutan, 11 in Bengal portion and 7 in Assam portion. So total 18 doors over there from India to Bhutan, gateway, that's called gateway. So singular is door and plural is doors. From this door and from these doors came to Duars name. This is the name from Britishers. So Duars, once upon a time, famous for the 3 T, tea, timber, and tourism. But once all of the region, tea is the main industry, was in Duars region. But from 90s, tea industries are facing huge problem and still are going now. After tea industry, next was timber. That time people cutting the trees illegally from the forest almost everywhere in Duars region. Some young guys involved with car hijack, car robbery, poaching in some patches in the Duars region, like Chilapata forest, like Nimti, that is under Boxa Tiger Reserve. Also in one patches is Lataguri under Gorumara National Park. So that time people were afraid to drive through the forest roads from evening to sunrise time. With respect to this matter, we started a campaign through ACT, that is Association for Conservation and Tourism, where we argued the needy people to plant trees instead of cutting down, as it deteriorates the ecosystem elementing the natural habitats of animals, birds, and affecting our food chain. We had able to understand peoples. If you cut a tree, it will give you one-time money. But if you save more and more trees, then tourists will come to see our forest, and that will give you the money years by years. After this campaigning, the successful story is over there. Those people who once involved with the hijack, with the robbery, with the poaching, these people now involved in tourism industry. Some guys as a guide, some guides as a driver, some guides as a hotel owner, some guys as a homestay owner. So this is the successful story of Duars region, constructive to destructive to constructive. So once upon a time, tea is the main industry in our area, but at this time, tourism is the main industry of our area. So this is a successful story, and in this behind ACT played a main role. ACT, that is our Association for Conservation and Tourism. From 1991, we work in this field very much to understood people. That is the don't cut the tree. Plant more and more tree. If you cut one tree, then it will give you one time. Then if you save the trees, then it will give you years and years of time. This is the transparent point from of Duars to tea, timber, tourism. Then does that?
Yes. Yes, if you can also say, because this was the beginning of Duars tourism, it has now almost been 25 years, yes. And after means this before COVID, that is BC period, we had very good tourist flow into the Duars area. People who came and stayed in the Duars, but now with the COVID situation, everything was closed. But then suddenly, all of us, all the stakeholders in Duars, how you started the tourism, you can just tell a little bit about the story, because much before the government, gave the order, the process of the opening of tourism, the process of the discussion and dialogue with the communities, how the tourism should open, you had already started. So if you can just speak a little about that, that would be wonderful, actually.
Okay, Rajda, when the whole tourism industry was hopeless, all we are thinking that this year, that means 2020, any tourist will not come at our Darjeeling or Duars region. That time I realized that if we become exhausted sitting at home, where we live in the natural condition, so what happened with the people of Kolkata and adjoining areas? Adjoining area. That time I saw the dreams. As we know that our Bengali people are always keen to travel. They can't sitting at home long time. Then I was think me as a traveler. Then I think me as a traveler. If I am a traveler, which place at this moment now I want to go, like to go? Obviously, I will select this place, which place safe and secure for the COVID-19. So this is the high time to build up the confidence back to tourists for the safety and security. So I am on that process. In 16th May, I sanitize my property with proper guideline and posted it social media. It was worked for us. When West Bengal government declared that from 8th June, we can open a hotel and restaurant, likely on 8th June, 5 guests from Bihar had come at our Jaldapara jungle camp. I asked them, you had come our jungle camp. One of guys said that we saw in Facebook that your resort was already sanitized. That we had decided immediately we should go because they also accepted in sitting home long time. This was the first ray of hope, but we lost hope. We saw that the incident in Digha and in Darjeeling, some tourists will go went to Digha and Darjeeling. Obstacle from the local peoples, they did not stay over there. Then we decide, ADTI, involved with ADTI, Alipurduar District Tourism Association, we decide we will go for the some awareness camp with the help of local people, with the help of local government body, with the help of police station, with the help of local panchayat, with the help of local panchayat samiti, with the help of Jilla Parishad. We organize some awareness camp, various places of in Alipur district, that means Jaldapara National Park, eastern side, western side, main central, Chilapata Reserve Forest, Boxaduar, Jayanti, Rajabhatka, each and every place in Jaigaon, it may be Jaigaon, we organize this awareness camp. If tourists come at our place, don't disturb them because tourists are not a corona carrier. This is the main things of there to understood the people because all are afraid at this time. Kolkata peoples are corona active carrier. We understand. We go through the people that is the main thing that you know. At this moment, who move from their house, well established, well built up men move from the house to travel. So you don't worry about their health, don't worry about their COVID-19 affected. So this will work in this area. So already 5 group in our Jaldapara National Park region already left out, and many groups from Chilapata, Jayanti, and most important is things that at this moment in our region, tourists are moving here and there. So this is the but I go back some experience when Bihar tourist came at my place. Their story I knew from them. They said that they are exhausted from their house. So I don't satisfied because I believe that if you go Rajasthan to Arunachal, Kerala to Himachal, Kashmir to Karnataka, you can find 70% Bengali tourists. So until and unless Kolkata tourists not given their footstep in our doors, these dreams will remain incomplete. At the end, on 12th of June, 11 members tourist group given their footprint in the Jaldapara jungle camp. From that time, I completely believe that now we can see the dreams, yet once again doors will be a faithful destination for the tourist. After that, already 5 group left from my Jaldapara jungle camp, and many other places like Chilapata, Jayanti, also reported our concern. Another great news is that next group will come on 25th to 26th of July. So doers now prepared for the tourist, and all we involved in the tourism industry directly or indirectly, we are ready to give our best to our tourists. We know that those people will come. They are not a COVID-19 carrier. They are well health. good health, wealth, established man will come.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Vishwajit ji, for giving your input. So you have heard the experience from a person from the field, because there were guidelines from the government, there were guidelines, there were protocols from the government which was passed on. But if it was only for the stakeholders to follow, only the tourism stakeholders to follow, probably we wouldn't have achieved the opening of the Duos area that you have just heard. The achievement of the Duos area, the opening that happened, was mainly because community meetings were organized. Meetings were organized where the bazaar committee, the local heads of the local community, the different FPC, means the Forest Protection Committee, EDC, the stakeholder committees, the local political will, the politicians from the Jila Parishad and from the district, all of them were brought together under one roof. And there were continuous meetings. There were continuous convincing of the people which carried on, and where we talked about the protocols. And when we talked about the protocols, the things that the lodges, resort and homestay, the vehicle owners, they are already following this kind of this one. That is the time when the local community, the host community, they got the confidence. And they said, yes, tourism is not harmful to us, because if there is footfalls of even 2 tourists, that means there are 2 more people coming to the destination, which means a little more sale for the local shop, a little more sale from the local market, a little more people coming to us. And as Vishwajit ji has just mentioned, that if a tourist is already healthy, means a tourist will not travel out of the house if he or she is sick, or if he or she is suspected of having some kind of the COVID-19 indication. A tourist will only travel if he or she is healthy, and that too with the family. And the present tourists who are mostly coming are coming in their own vehicle, in their own motorbikes, mostly. So the risk is much less of connecting, because they travel, as you said.
Radha?
Yes, please.
I mentioned 2 things because I have already 5 groups left from my Jaldapara jungle. I just imagine the changes of tourism industry that are coming up this year. It may be tourists avoid their public transport, train or plane. They like to travel with their own vehicles. One thing is there. Second is there. Norbuji already mentioned it. The tourists at this time they come not one day in Silapatta, one day in Jaldapara, one day in Boxa, one day in Darjeeling. But at this time we'll come at our place
for a longer time. Yes, they're coming for a longer time.
One place, they will move from here and then, but they stay in one place. And third one, I just locate this. That most of the tourists, it may be prepare their food by own. We can only supply the vegetables and other things. But this is the changes. It may be in coming of this year. I just mentioned.
Very good. Because so you can hear from Vishwajit's experience that there has been changes in the people who are traveling, this during this COVID situation, or maybe the people to come further in the after COVID situation. This will be a new trend that people will stay in one destination for a longer time. They will not look for very fast activities. They will go for slow nature activities. They will probably want to cook their own food. Only that good organic food should be supplied to them. So these kind of things, and people will travel in their own vehicles, in their own this one. So we have to confirm that the safety on the highways for the people who are traveling. So all these small little things have to be adapted within the policies of the states also, when we want the tourist movement to happen. And I think this is a model where all the destinations can follow, that how travel should be and how the restarting of tourism should be in every destination is through community meetings. Is not by a hotel or a lodge or a resort or some vehicle owners or guides agreeing to it, but it is also about the process in where the community is involved, where the community can be shown how the entire cleaning of the place is being done as per the protocol. The sanitization, the wearing of gloves, the wearing of mask, and all these things, the social distancing. So if you go to Duars now, all the lodges, resorts, and homestays have already learned this, how to do and how this has to happen. So, this was a little bit of journey that we talked from Duars. But as we travel, I'm sure that our viewers and people who are here and listening to us, they are not very bored, because now we will go to a very interesting portion of tourism. That is, all of us know about geotourism. It is a term that has been used widely. Geotourism has been used very widely, because until and unless geography is not there, the other things of tourism, the other aspects of tourism cannot be, launched or cannot be connected. And under such circumstances, geotourism is something what has given rise to particularly going to very remote areas, interacting with the people, interacting with nature in these places. And who better than Molaida, Professor Molay Mukhopadhyay from the Department of Geography, Vishwa Bharati, who is there with us. He's a very well-experienced tourist himself, because he is known as the river walker. He walked the river across the world, in Europe, in India, and in different places. He has walked the different rivers. He has seen the culture of the river. And in India, mainly in Eastern India, he has been trying to explore the source of the rivers. So exploring the source of the river from an academic activity, it has now become a tourism activity, because it took him probably 25 years. 25 years ago, he probably started by finding the source of a very local river in Shantiniketan and crossing the state and finding the source over there. And after 25 years, when he did the same walk, repetition of the same walk, there was tourism into that. So, how this river walking, geography, and how edu-tourism can be a part of the restarting of tourism. We'll hear a little from Molaida. Molaida, if you can just detail about your journey to all the listeners over here, please. Over to you.
Thank you, Razda. I'm really happy to take part in this webinar program. Honestly speaking, when I got the invitation from ISCS, I was overwhelmed, because most of the time I took classes for my students only, but today I have a chance to share my experiences with persons, those who are really very much interested to take part in this tourism sector. Like all other tourism destinations of India and world, the Bengal tourism is really in crisis in this phase of COVID. And Institution of Social and Cultural Studies has really taken up a very serious effort in dealing with the post-corona or post-COVID situation or tourism in Bengal. When I got the invitation from ISCS, I was overwhelmed, and I'm waiting for this very moment when I would like to convey my regards to all the members and board members of ISCS. Now come to the point that it is a great opportunity for me to, from the classroom to the real life, that is tourism development and revival of tourism. Being a geographer, I have analyzed that to upgrade the quality of tourism in Bengal, the geographical understanding of that area, the landscape of that area, its explanation, is the socio-economic aspects of those areas must be taken into consideration. Framework and just share some of my experiences. Already I mentioned that I have covered a number of rivers by walking along the river bank. Some of you know that I have already covered 5 rivers. In India, particularly in the eastern India, I have covered 4 rivers, namely Moraxi, Ojoi, Tarafeni, Wai, and one in England, that is River Thames.
Maulada, I think your internet connection is very low. So if you can just switch off your image and just only speak, I think then it will take less this one. If you can switch off your camera and speak, that will be better. Maulada, if you can hear. I think Maulada left because of the internet issue. Maulada, are you back? Hello. I think there has been some major internet issues. Hello.
Well, I'll try to get in touch with him.
Yes, please try and get in touch with him. In the meanwhile, we shall continue because it's unfortunate that we couldn't listen to him about the river journeys that Maulada has undertaken for all these years, for more than 3 decades that he has been on his river journeys all across the world, and especially into Eastern India, where Maulada has found out a new way of exploring the river sources and going up the river sources and then finding the source of the river, then putting a kind of, where it starts from, which is this river, and then signages on the way. And as I heard from him, 25 years ago, he had to sleep in his school houses, into verandas, and people were not very friendly in those days. But after 25 years, when he was celebrating some of his journeys along the river, he had camps with him. There were camping arrangements. There were local people who were involved. They were cooking over there, and people paid for their trips. So this was exactly something, what very happily happened over the years, that the journey of the river started. So river walking in India is today a very popular activity, especially in West Bengal. River walking is a very popular activity in the north of West Bengal. Most of the rivers that you see in the north of West Bengal, we have river walking activities over here. People walk up and down the rivers. They explore the culture over there, the forest, the nature, the people. So because rivers have always been journeys of civilization, and civilizations across the world have been on the rivers. So this was something to watch. This was something to see. Though our boat journeys are gone, but at some of the places it remains, where the river comes and meets the sea. And before it meets the sea, it creates a big estuarine where life is on the water. So it is more on the water into the estuarine forest of Sundarbans, where 50% of the landscape is shared between the people and wildlife, where life for the people is equally tough as much as it is tough for the of our wilder cousins over there. So under such circumstances, the shift of tourism over there, which was only based on boats, picnicking on boats, how the shift of tourism happened over there by bringing that to land, and how people along the islands who
I
were
think
more.
Maulada joined Rasta.
Oh, Maulada has joined.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Maulada is there again.
Sorry.
So we'll hear Maulada's stories and then we go over to Sundarbans. Please, Maulada.
Yeah. You see that in 1991, I conducted this program along River Kopai. That time, total member were 16 or 18. But again, after 25 years, 2017, we organized the same program along the same river bank, that is Kopai. And why I'm quoting this example? Because this time we received a huge number of applications. They wanted to join in this trekking along river. And number is huge, and from there we selected only 84. And in that group, only 20 participants, they completed the entire journey. and the rest are just joined for 2 days, for 3 days, or for 5 days, not entirely. What I want to say that by this, the edutourism, the participants can interact with the village people, and village people can interact with the trekkers. And the total length of the Kopai is about 110 kilometers. And to cover this 110 kilometers, we had to spend 8 nights. And we spent nights in 8 villages. I have outlined a program, a project for this. If we set up the 8 hall points by providing very good dormitory and washroom, toilets, and kitchen, then the students from different schools, college, research scholars, and the family men, they can join and they can take part in this trekking program. Why? Because I noticed in Thames in England, there is a trailing path, and that is mentioned along the bank of the river Thames, and there is no age bar. The children, they are carrying their haversack and cover the entire length on foot. The family man, the couple, the school children. So if we provide this sort of hall points, and if we give this program to our government, tourism department, or the institutions like ISCS, if they take initiative, then they can provide some open space where we can camp and we can cover the entire land. And this is the first part. And I like to introduce, with the help of persons like you and the persons of ISCS board members. So this is an angle by which we can start or initiate the educative tourism, edutourism. The next part of my experience already Raza mentioned in his introduction regarding me, and that is the Marcus Stone. Marcus Stone, I got this idea while I visited the source point of river Thames, and that is a village known as the Serenstadt. And I also visited another village in Germany, and that is the source of river Danube, the Donaquelle, another village. And you cannot believe the tourists from the rest of the world, they are gathered and they stay there and they try to enjoy the source point of the river. From there, I got this idea. Then I come back India, and I started with the help of my scholars, my students, my colleagues, and like-minded people. I set up, installed the 5 such marker stone in different parts of Bengal, as well as adjacent states like Jharkhand and Bihar and Odisha. You see, this marker stone, for example, for Ajoy River, it is a village known as the Sarwa. It has no attraction for the tourist. The tourist would not like to go there because it is very just like other villages of Bihar. But when the tourist will come to know that that village is a place of a origin of a river, from that village the river Ajoy is originating, then the people will like to go there. Actually, after setting up that marker stone, which is being acknowledged by the BBC Earth and so many newspapers and mass media people, and some research scholars has already been started taking research on this issue. And you see that after setting up that marker stone in Sarwa village, the people are coming from the adjacent villages as a tourist for the time being, and then enjoy and see, and they are worshipping to that marker stone. And the village people is very clever and very wise in the sense that they have one annual festives, and they're clubbing their festives with the worshipping of that marker stone. You cannot believe that thousands of people are coming and worshipping that marker stones by pouring water milk and flowers and so. This is some sort of the pagan culture. Pagan culture means the worshiping to the nature. And this is a deep-rooted culture in those village people, among those village people, that's why. Now, this is the marker stone for Ajoy, another marker stone for Kopai, that is the, known as the Khajuri village, which is within the Jharkhand state, but only 9 kilometers inside from the West Bengal border. And the village is still maintaining the culture, behavior, habits, food, everything like Bengal. And then another marker stone we set up in Kunur source point, that is within the West Bardhaman district, and that is the Jhajra village, and it is from a spring. The people used to go there previously. Now, after setting up the marker stone, people regularly visit that place and enjoy that place. Another, that is the Etalbera, one village over Ajodhya Pahad. This is the source of river Kumari. And we set up that marker stones with the help of my friend, that Chittode is a artist, and who is carrying the Pakhi Pahad in Ajodhya Hills on the Gorgaburu outcrop. And by that, setting up this marker stone for Kumari River. Now, the tourism departments is now taking under their consideration that spot is within their tourist spots of the Ajodhya Pahad area. Another very important, that is in North Bengal, on river Corolla, we set up marker stone well inside the jungle, in the core area of the Boikuntapur range forest area, and that is about 15 kilometers inside the jungle. And one tourist spot is there, that is the Tista barrage, and besides, the government of West Bengal has initiated one program, that is Bhorer Alo, and we interact with the tourists in the Bhorer Alo area, and they are very much eager to visit that particular spot from where the river Corolla is originating. And my suggestion that if we sit with the forest personnel and if we start one program, a package program, to take the tourists from there and take them to that particular origin point, source point, I think they can enjoy this geographical landscape association as well as the environment of the core forest.
Exactly.
They are ready to pay amount in package amount, and so this is another way by which we can raise our revenue. This is the second point. Third point, we have already installed 2 display board in 2 landscape areas. One is Gorbeta. You already know that Gorbeta is famous for ravine land, the very badland topography, very attractive. Those who have seen that, you cannot forget that landscape, beauty of the landscape. And we set up the display board. There we explain the genesis of the landscape, how it is developed, and what is the history behind this, and what is the economic aspect of that landscape, and what are the people in and around the settlements, the village names, and we give one map in that display board. Now the tourists can educate themselves by seeing or by considering that display board. Another display board we already set up in Gopgod area, that is in Paschim Medinipur, and that Gopgod hill to a geographer is a cuesta and very unique formation, and that has also been described there, and map is there, section is there, so the people can educate, the tourists can educate themselves by studying that board. I noticed in every part of the world that where there is a unique landscape, there is a display board, and that display board depict or explain the genesis of the landscape, character of the landscape, rock or in situ rock and character of the rock, and the age of the rock, everything is displayed. In every junction of Colorado River, I noticed there is a display board. So my request to those who are thinking for revival of the tourism, so we can introduce such type of the display board. Last week, I had a talk with Rajda in connection with the display board. The Yalbong one typical landscape in North Bengal near Chuikim and Yalbong, very near within the Kalimpong district. That Yalbong is a unique landscape, and its origin or its genesis is a marvelous one. If we display, if we communicate to the tourist, and particularly the students from environmental studies, or student from geography, or student from the any discipline, they will get interest and get knowledge, because that incision of the river, and that is a canyon in the hard rock area, that is unique. So from the point of view of the geography, we must understand the geographical knowledge of that particular area, and by that we can communicate our knowledge of that particular area to the tourist, and that actually enhance the edu-tourism in West Bengal. And this is a platform. Today we are discussing how we will revive the West Bengal tourism. And these are the ways by which we
Thank you very much, Maulada. Very well spoken, because the way you have taken up the topics, we have got a new way. River tourism can be the way of restarting tourism in West Bengal, because all of us who are in tourist places are not far away from the rivers, and all of us can start rethinking on this new process of tourism. So this new process of tourism, as you know, you and me, we have experimented for so many years. We have started river walks in different parts of Duars, in different parts of the mountains. So it works. It is not that it doesn't work. But with the restarting of tourism, the river tourism will not only help in the tourism restarting, but will also help to conserve the rivers. Because rivers across West Bengal, we know that the rivers which are close to cities, they are in a very bad state. Wherever it is, wherever there are urban areas, everything goes into the rivers. So maybe through this respect to the rivers, when we have river tourism, through this respect, as you said, people of the local area, they come and pray to that place. So because this divine source, this divine connectivity with the rivers we have already lost, that could be the reason that we spoil our rivers. So maybe tourism can be very helpful in conservation and revival of the rivers across the country. And this can be a new activity which should be given a priority in all this. And thank you very much, Maulada. And as we go down the rivers, as we said, as we go down the rivers, the river goes and meets the sea. And as the river goes down and meets the sea, the estuarine that is formed, we have Akankaji from here, the lady, the strong lady, who not only established the camp, the tiger camp in Sundarban, the land-based camp in Sundarban, but has also formulated a complete protocol for the industry. On behalf of the adventure tour operators. She has created this protocol. So a lot of people in the chat box has been asking what should be the protocol when people are coming, when people are staying over here, and after people have left. Because Akankaji, I should tell you, there are a lot of questions that after the tourist leaves, what should we do? What should be the protocol? How should we clean up the rooms, or how many hours should we keep it vacant? So all these are the questions which are coming in the chat box. I think it's over to you because there is always a limit on timing. So we should give you enough time to speak. Please, Akankaji.
Okay. Thank you. Namaste, Rajda. Thank you so much for having me here and ISCS. It is a wonderful opportunity to get to talk in front of so many audience from Bengal, and I'm stuck here in Gurgaon, so it's fantastic to see you all there. I hope all of you are safe. Like Rajda mentioned, So we have been working on protocols. I've been doing a lot of research. I did a short course from John Hopkins University as well for contact tracing and understanding how can COVID spread. You know, we've all come back to how Duas has been promoted and it's opened, and it's a fantastic initiative. But slowly, we all must instill confidence between all villages and all tourists that Bengal is a safe destination. It may not be the current situation now, but we have to build towards it by say maybe August end or early September, that every village, every organization, every travel agent, every hotel is taking certain precautions in place before opening up so that we can ensure corona does not spread in the village areas. The main concern, of course, being that there's not much health facility available. So for doing this, we've actually made an Adventure Tour Operator Association of India. There were 5-6 of us, and we've got this document attested by homestays, resorts. It can be used basically from bottom to top, from a no-star to a 5-star hotel. Now, what is important to understand is, how do you communicate to your guests? How do you let them know? One is, of course, that you talk about, you understand that what is coronavirus. Coronavirus spreads when you don't take precaution, and if somebody has been infected, infection happens with a touch point. Now, when we're talking about touch point, Rajda did mention before, and India Tourism's Chakyanandiji also mentioned before, that it's using gloves is a very important safety protocol. But it is also important to know that after every touch, you have to sanitize those gloves. Otherwise, the glove has no use. So in our documentation, what we've also tried to do, which is very important, is how can we be sustainable and how can we be responsible towards safe tourism? Because right now everybody has these 3-layer masks. They're using per day, one use, and they're throwing it away. Maybe you can get a 4-layered cotton mask with no non-porous woven fabric, and you can wash it and reuse it on a daily basis. Get 3-4 of them. That can be a sustainable approach. So now I'll just go a bit towards the idea of how will you be communicating with your guests, getting bookings, and the shutdown. Number one, each and every organization should make a protocol about how many people are they willing to allow inside the resort? How many people can they accommodate in the dining room? How can they make it a time lag system? For example, you may be having 4 tables. You have to have a 10 feet distance between a table. So you may be only able to place 2 tables. So you have to tell your guests that please come in, have your dinner from 8 to 9, pre-book your timing slot from 7:30 to 8:30. So there is no discomfort. It's about giving a good experience. So a pre-communication from them, from you as a hotelier or a travel agent, will be a good concept to get out the guests. Second, let them know that they should book a holiday for a long stay. And I was very encouraged to hear from Duas also and from North Bengal Nobuji was saying this, that you should recommend less destination visit but long stay vacations, because what happens in that way, the guest is also more comfortable, you are also more comfortable, because the guest is coming from a certain point to you, and he's staying there, he's also reliable because the safety protocols are in place. Now, to make the safety protocols in place, you have to have communication and signage all over your property. It is very important. I know we all know it, but it's always good to have a reminder in place that maybe suppose you have a door which needs to be touched and opened, leave it open. Put a hand sanitizer on points. Please remember, do not get a 60% hand sanitizer. It has to be a 70% plus WHO approved. There are a lot of companies which are selling you hand sanitizers which are very cheap, but cheap is not going to make you safe, and unfortunately, it is going to affect your reputation in the end of the day. So that's very important. Also, when you're looking at serving food, it is very important that the buffet system for now has to go, because what happens in buffet, people have a lot of touch points. You have to reduce touch points. So it will be more advisable if there's a family, please give them a table to sit in. Do a pre-service, pre-set up the table with plates, spoons, everything, so you don't have to give it up again and again. You don't have to touch things. It's all sanitized. You can get UV tents for sterilizing it, or you can do a simple hot water wash, a three-wave system, and use Pinky Pani, which is potassium permanganate water, to sanitize it, and that's not really very expensive. It can also be used for sanitizing your fruits. After your table is done, please recommend that the guests only use that same table for seating. This all actually makes it easier for, if somebody is asymptomatic, is actually the main challenge. Somebody has corona, it's also important to know that 2 days before your symptoms start showing, you actually become infected and you start infecting people around you. So it's very important to understand your guests' travel history. So pre-communication is something, again, I'm coming on. Talk to your guests, ask them where have they coming from, have they stayed in, have they come from somewhere else. Make your cancellation policy flexible, make it very transparent. Tell them, there's no problem. If you have fever, we will not charge a full cancellation. We will allow you to stay and come in later. So that actually gives a positive note towards you as an organization. That because these are unprecedented times. Otherwise, all of us 48 hours before, somebody has fever, we are cancelling. We will charge full cancellation because you block the room. But here, your safety, your colleagues' safety, your villagers' safety, everybody is in play. So it's very required that you do this. Secondly, once the guest is come into the room, you're checking in. The car should be disinfected with disinfectant spray. Very easy to use. You can use hydrochloride solution. You get that. You can mix it 5% with 1 liter of water and spray it on the vehicle. Your bags can be sprayed, so that it's a light spray. You leave it outside for 1 minute. It quickly dries up, does not damage other than leather. You can use that. And then your staff touches it and carries it in. So again, somebody else, it may have touched it, it may have been contaminated. You're decontaminating it before taking to the property. Once it's gone inside the room, please remember whatever communication you're having with your guests. I do understand there are areas which are rural, which do not have internet connectivity, but it will be a good practice to set up a WhatsApp group or a WhatsApp business number so that you can send all the information to your guests via mobile, or they can call you up, so that they know, okay, these are the timings, these are the meal timings, these are the in-room dining menu. You should not have a manual menu in the restaurant, because times like this, you don't want to have any touch points. I'm again and again mentioning touch points because we as Indians are very touchy, fidgety. So we have to, change our behavior a bit and adopt the new normal, which is right now. So you're doing a pre-communication there. When you're in the room, very important question was asked that what do you do after checkout? How do you do the sanitization? How long do you leave the room empty? Very good question. Thank you for that. It's very important to understand. Just 1 minute. Sorry, my son was here. So work from home is
not to worry. Not to worry. Please continue.
Yes. So basically, what is it? 1 minute.
Akansha, don't worry, we're happy with him. Please continue.
Yeah. So what is very important is that when you are in the room, we have these decorative cushions, we have these decorative bath mats, we have a lot of things which we give our guests to use. Please become minimalistic and make it on request. What is very important is we don't want to create garbage. Suppose a guest has come in, you have a toothbrush in the room, the guest has not used it, you have to throw it away, because it's been contaminated. If you spray with disinfectant spray, it will lose color. The guest will say it's used. So it's better you make everything on request. You leave, as per WHO, the virus can stay alive on different surfaces till 7 days. So a very easy method of sterilization, which has just been recently discovered, is UV sterilization. So I recommend that if you can put a UV sterilizer, 2 of them in the room for 1 hour, then your room is completely sterilized and can be given after 24 hours. So that's one thing. Also, when after checkout, it is very important for you as an organization to keep in touch with your clients and for your drivers and staff to maintain a different note that the guests, if they're going to rural areas, they are interacting with the locals, wearing a mask, wearing a face shield, at least with a minimum distance of 8 feet. This is just to ensure, and reassert that, listen, we are trying to be safe. Also, the villagers should be given, if you are working in a local area, as an organization, I would request, please distribute complimentary cloth masks. They only cost you 20 rupees, but it will give a lot of goodwill, and also ensure that they are safe when you're going in. Because I do understand there are a lot of new cases coming up. People don't know how to react with it. There are a lot of myths going around with corona. It's very important that you educate your areas about how coronavirus works. I think Rajda has done a fantastic job there with opening up duas. We've done that in our island in Dayapur, in the Sundarbans, where we were the pioneers in developing tourism. We started back in 2001, and we are hoping that all of you will take this initiative to spread the word around. But this is just a brief of it, and I think Rajda will be very happy to. I will share the document of ATOI with him, and if you all have any questions with regard to hiking and maintaining distance, it's mentioned there, camping, bushwalking, we've got a very detailed protocol in place. So that's all I would like to say right now.
Thank you very much, Akanka. It was Akanka ji has very nicely put, the standards that has been there, though it has been written by Government of India, but practically a lot of us couldn't understand. A lot of us who are the stakeholders in tourism could not understand how to implement the state. But the way she has explained, we exactly know what to do and how to go forward. And in villages where we work, in remote villages, especially in West Bengal, most of the tourism happens in villages. In villages where we work, we want to create minimum waste in those areas. So how we can find out ways, where there are very less, very less waste that is coming up while maintaining the protocol. Because this balance has to be found out, which is very difficult. It is very easy to say that protocols have to be maintained, but at the same time, because back in village destinations, we do not have any waste management procedure. So here we have to understand that how we can reduce the waste over there, how we can go down with the entire, the waste building from the protocol maintenance. So at the same time, in villages where you cannot have UV or other things, just make sure that, the people who are working in the rooms, they are properly dressed to, pick up the bed sheets and the linens and the pillow covers and everything that has been used by the guests. Maybe after 24 hours after opening the doors and windows, you pick it up, put it into hot boiling water, keep them into soap water for a longer time, soak them into soap water for a longer time before you start the process of washing. And this, in the same way, as Akanka ji has just said, please keep your rooms as empty as possible. Only when the guest arrives over there, tell them what they need, provide them with fresh bed sheet, fresh pillow covers. Maybe for a very long time, a lot of you have been seen, mainly in the cold destination. You must have seen that we use blankets and, quilts and everything. Make sure that there are double covers on those quilts and blankets so that, they can be washed properly and they can be kept in the sun for a longer time. And as you heard that the hydrochloride that can be sprayed over the luggage, over the different areas for sanitization are some things what have to be mentioned. So these are some of the small things which is very essential in this new normal situation that we have presently. Because before COVID there was one situation. After COVID, the entire travel, the travel culture will change, and we have to slowly adapt ourselves to the travel culture. You please get into the Government of India side. You also get in the ATOI side where you'll get those details. I would just like to explain you a small way, how reopening or restarting of tourism started in Sundarbans. We know that Sundarbans was very recently badly hit by the Amphan. And it was a complete mess. People were in such a bad situation that they in Sundarbans they almost forgot about the COVID-19 situation, because the natural disaster that was there, it hit so badly over there. But then very innovative tour operators, along with very sensible and responsible lodge resort owners, they started a campaign where they allowed people to come up with relief material. So tourists who wanted to give relief during the Amphan situation could actually travel and reach out this relief to the people themselves with their own hands. So that was a way of opening of tourism into Sundarbans, and it worked very well because it helped the people, it helped the local people. The relief could be reached to them, and there could be people who are so compassionate, who wanted to do it themselves, so they could do it themselves, and in the process, the restarting of tourism in Sundarbans started. So gradually, in West Bengal, all the way from Sundarbans to Duars, there has been different ways of showing how tourism can be restarted in this neo-normal situation, or during, as we know that there has to be a long time where we have to live with this kind of situation, where you have to live with this COVID-19 situation. How do we handle tourism? Because this was, we have been continuously saying, this is the first thing that had actually closed down. This is the first industry to close down because the restrictions started coming on travel. So, tourism was the first industry to be affected, and we don't know when it opens. But we are fortunate that West Bengal, starting from the state government, which started opening with their 10 lodges at the different places, with the stakeholders in Duars, all across Duars, from Gorumara to Jaldapara to Boxa, all along, they have began this process of opening of tourism in these areas. Sundarbans in its own way have started the opening. Places like Shantiniketan and Purulia have already started showing signs of opening in consultation with the community. So there has been different aspects of reopening of tourism that has come up. One, because most of our destinations are rural destinations, we make sure that we have enough community discussions and dialogues before we open up or restart tourism, and take the consent of the local communities while opening the tourism. We are very careful about the protocols, starting from guides to vehicle owners, to lodges, to resort. We have to be very careful with the protocols, that how we maintain the protocols, how well we implement them, because it is not for eye washing that we maintain the protocols. It should actually be for the safety of the people who are giving the hospitality service, for the safety of the people, of the guests who are coming, and the safety of the hosts who are there, the complete host destination. Because by host, I do not mean the only ones who interact with the tourists, but about the entire destination, because the destination has to remain safe. That should be our priority. So with how we can go ahead with that, we have heard about the different schemes and the activities of Government of India, how in this, even when it is a lockdown period, when we are not traveling, how we can get enough information, how can people get trained as guides and as facilitators. We heard from Molaida, how river tourism can be started, all of us together trying in our own way how to start river tourism. That could be a way out. We heard from Nauboji about the healing villages, because this is a movement that we have been running in our region. Healing villages has been doing very well. There has been a lot of response from across the country. It started from a small village known as Suikim, which we wanted to make the first model healing village, and from there the movement is across the Himalaya, where the concept of healing villages with the reopening of tourism can actually marry to each other very well. So these were the points that we have discussed. We have seen the different models that Vishwajit ji has shown. So all the inputs that we have had in this meeting was extremely important, and we have actually crossed the scheduled time, because a lot of people had said that we should finish by 5:30 because they have other works to do. We were also expecting to finish by 5:30, but we couldn't stop hearing to our speakers, because our speakers also had to make their case, to speak about what they wanted to say. They're sharing their experience, which was very important for this entire webinar that we are having. This webinar is being recorded. Probably it will be documented and it will be put online also, for people who have not been able to hear us during this webinar, can hear us later. We will, I think, there are questions in the chat box that have come up. There has been a small technical error that has happened in between. After we reached the number of 71 participants that came in, all of a sudden, there was some technical thing that has happened, where automatically people couldn't be added because there are a lot of people who wanted to add themselves. I was getting WhatsApp and phone calls continuously that they want to add themselves, but our technical team couldn't add them because there was something technically difficult which was not being able to be sorted out at this level. So we have decided to share the entire seminar, the webinar that we have had online. Secondly is a lot of people were not being able to listen because they had joined the meeting, the webinar, but they were not being able to listen. So there was some technical thing either with our technical team or maybe with the with the Google team of the GMAT. Something must have happened somewhere where this has happened. So I'm very sorry to that we couldn't do the show in full because we were expecting so many people from abroad, from beyond India, were also calling up, from Myanmar, from Sri Lanka, from Vietnam, who were calling up to join because they also wanted to hear about this experience, because the stakeholders of tourism from those areas also wanted to hear from the stakeholders and from the experts over here in the panel about how this can be taken forward. I would request that ISCS, they not only create a document from this meeting, but at the same time, they have a part 2 and part 3 of it, so that there can be more inputs that should come in over here. Maybe one of the inputs could be West Bengal with Sikkim. One of the inputs could be West Bengal with Orissa. Means different kind of combinations can be worked out, and we can bring in the different stakeholders from our neighboring states and countries. In regard to West Bengal, all of you know that we are in a very good geographical location, which can actually be the gateway of tourism through Northeast into the rest of country, and from the rest of country to the Northeastern region, because this is where you can explore Asia. When you come over there from the rest of the country, it is an opportunity when you can explore Asia. So these are the different aspects of tourism. I think we will discuss at a different level that how the India's Northeast can be the gateway of tourism for India. So these are not only restricted to West Bengal, but the benefits spread to the rest of Northeast. So these are some of the policy matters that we have been talking about for a very long time. There are a lot of questions that have come in the chat box, but because we are short of time, we cannot take up all the questions at present. And at the same time, people in the chat box, I would request that you should leave your email address and your WhatsApp numbers in the chat box so that we can get in touch with you. People who are hearing over here or listening over here, please note, you can go to my Facebook and you can see the post of the poster. You can write to the secretary of IC of the institute, who will help you with your e-certificate. If you wish to have an e-certificate, you can write to the secretary. His email address of Mr. Arindam Mukherjee's email address have been provided in the poster that is there on my Facebook page. So I would request that let us be in touch. This is just the starting where the discussion has started. It is not the end of it. We have started over here. We already can see that there has been participants from other parts of the country also who joined from Himachal, from I think Kerala. There are people who have joined, or people who also wanted to join could not be technically added. But we will be in touch. We will be in touch with each other. We wanted to interact. We had kept a session for interaction within us, which I think we have to give it a miss today. With this small, with this small note, I would say, please remember that travel is not a optional element. Travel, like food, clothing, and shelter, is an essential element of human life. Because if human cannot travel, there is no food for his thought, or for his brain, for his thought process, or for his thinking. So if there is food for people to live, for people to stay, there has to be travel for the brain to work, for us to work. Otherwise, we all would be in jail. So travel is a very essential element, and we are so very grateful that the institute organized such a webinar at the very right time, And I'm very grateful to the speakers who have come in today, especially all the way from the hills. We have Nobiji Lama. From the foothills, the forest of West Bengal, we have Bishwajit Shahaji. We have from Shantiniketan, Professor Molay Mukhopadhyay, Molaida, who has been with us. And all the way from Sundarbans, we had Akankaji, who represents the Sundarban Tiger Camp. So all of you together have made a wonderful case of how, the reopening, more than the crisis, more than the discussing the crisis of COVID-19, which I am sure everybody is realizing the crisis of COVID-19. So there was least discussion on that, because I think people know about that, but more about restarting tourism was the way forward for tourism was something what we were looking forward to. And this webinar, I am very sure, will help the entire travel and tourism community and travelers together. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us. Namaskar to everyone, and we will come back to all of you very soon. Thank you.
Okay, do we have Krishnendu sir with us? Do we have
Krishnendu
sir with us?
Krishnendu sir couldn't join actually. You were supposed to give the vote of thanks.
Okay, so I shall take it over. On behalf of ISCS, we would like to thank all our eminent speakers and of course Raj sir for being with us this evening. As we said that there has been some technical issues, but we will ensure that the recording reaches to as many as we can. And as Raj sir said, people who are interested to seek an e-participation certificate do write to us. Yes, time is running against us, so we couldn't have a discussion. We couldn't take up too many questions, but I'm sure, as Raj sir also rightly said, we look forward to many such interfaces and discourses on the proposed topic in future. And I'm sure today's webinar has been very, very enriching, and it will help to boost the tourism sector post-pandemic world and enable travelers like you and me to plan a wonderful trip after COVID world, as Raj sir said, AC. So here's wishing you all the very best. And as we say that Institute of Social and Cultural Studies, as a part of its imperative, always take up some interesting things, interesting events, interesting discourses. We vouch to bring you many more in coming months. So please do have an eye on our Facebook pages and be in touch. Till then, be safe and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you. Good night.